सो व्हाट्सअप एंड गुड मॉर्निंग, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। तो आज मतलब अभी मैं चेकआउट कर रहा हूँ। मेरा पहले जो गलती हुआ तो वो सब गलती नहीं दोहरा रहा हूँ। तो अभी मेरा 11:45 को यहाँ से बस स्टेशन से है जो मेरा नेक्स्ट कंट्री वो है एम्स्टर्डम। तो यहाँ से 2 घंटा का ही जर्नी है बस। 10:40 का है। उधर पहुँचेगा अराउंड 12 बजे एम्स्टर्डम में। तो भाई अभी थोड़ा मतलब कल तो लाइक थोड़ा नाइट लाइफ थोड़ा ऐसा वो भाई दर्शन भाई था, वो उसके साथ मिलके थोड़ा बहुत इन्हें मतलब वो ग्रैंड पैलेस घुमा। फिर उसके बाद थोड़ा नाइट लाइफ बेल्जियम बियर्स वगैरह है वो भी थोड़ा ट्राई किए। तो अभी फ़िलहाल बज रहा है 10:16। तो मैं ज़्यादा लेट नहीं करूँगा। यहाँ से नीचे 10:30 बजे या 11:45 को 10:30 या 11 बजे निकल जाऊँगा। तो फिलहाल ये अच्छे स्वीट से सिटी बॉक्स को बाय बाय करते हैं। बाय बाय। ऐसा कुछ वेदर हो रखा है। तो बाकी मेरा पैकिंग तो डन हो गया। अभी फ़िलहाल चलते हैं नीचे। थोड़ा सोच रहा हूँ थोड़ा कॉफ़ी वॉफ़ी ले लूँगा, कॉफ़ी भी खाऊँगा, थोड़ा हेड टू बस स्टेशन। चलो मिलते हैं। मेरा है जोन सी में, ऐसा जोन सी आगे आई थिंक आगे जाता है। तो अभी फिलहाल तो मैं पहुंच गया फ्लिक्स बस के स्टैंड में, जोन सी। यहाँ पे जोन ए बी सी ऐसा लिखा रहता है। तो एक किसी को पूछ के तो आगे ये बसेस है। ऐसा तो हमारा बस अभी तक नहीं आया, 11:40 का है। तो बस यही है। अभी ब्रसल्स के बारे में क्या, ब्रसल्स इज़ नाइस। मतलब स्विट्ज़रलैंड से उतना मतलब साफ़ सुथरा नहीं है, बट इट्स यूरोपियन लाइक कल्चर वगैरह बहुत अच्छा। ये साहब देखते हो पूरा पीछे साइड में बिल्डिंग्स वगैरह बहुत बड़े बड़े। तो यहाँ से एम्स्टर्डम का सफ़र जो है 2 घंटा है। 2 घंटा में हम लोग पूरा करेंगे। तो अभी फ़िलहाल तो वेट करते हैं बस। और बस का नंबर में कुछ लिखा रहता है ना, वो मतलब बराबर नहीं आ रहा है, फैच नहीं हो रहा है। पर ठीक है, ये कुछ बसेस है फ्लिक्स बस। एक बंदा मिल गया कि वो भी जा रहा है एम्स्टर्डम। तो मैं बोला थैंक गॉड एटलीस्ट वो तो मिल गया। बट एनीवेज अभी चलते हैं, बस आता है और 20 मिनट है अभी। बस दिखाता हूँ आपको ये वाला। अभी देखो बज रहे हैं 11:45, बस छूट गया है। तो यहाँ से 2.5 घंटे का कुछ बच रहा है, 2.5 घंटे का चल सकता है। ये दिखाता हूँ आपको बस। तो अभी भाई वेलकम टू एम्स्टर्डम नीदरलैंड। पहुँच गए। यहाँ पे फ्लिक्स बस का है, ये आप देख सकते हो। ये पूरा फ्लिक्स बस ने हम लोग को यहाँ पे ड्रॉप किया। मैंने ऊबर बुक किया 2 मिनट लग रहा है, कुछ 15 यूरो है। मैं ट्रेन में नहीं जा रहा हूँ बिकॉज लाइक मेरे पास लगेज भी थोड़ा है। तो यहाँ से सीधा जाओगे तो ट्रेन स्टेशन है। तो अभी ऊबर का वेट करते हैं, फिर दिखाता हूँ आपको ऊबर का कैसा है और कैसा सिटी। ये तो आउटस्कट है आई थिंक। मेरा जो है मेन डैम स्क्वायर में है, होटल डैम स्क्वायर जाते हैं, दिखाता हूँ फिर आपको। देख सकते हो ऊबर बता रहा है कुछ 1 मिनट मैं पहुंच जाऊंगा लगभग कितना बजे। आई थिंक वो दिखा नहीं रहा है, बट आई थिंक 15-20 मिनट लगेगा पहुंचने में। ये कुछ एम्स्टर्डम का मेट्रो। फिलहाल ऊबर आता है, ऊबर में बैठ के फिर बता रहा हूँ। सो भाई जहाँ पे मेरा टैक्सी छोड़ा वहाँ से 400 मीटर मेरे को 400 मीटर पैदल लेके आया। ये अभी कुछ है, अभी जस्ट रूम है। ये होटल डैम स्क्वायर है, 2 बेड वाला है। मेरे को 2 बेड की ज़रूरत नहीं बस, तो 2 दिन रुकना ही है मेरे को यहाँ पे। तो ऐसा कुछ रूम है। और यहाँ पे कुछ सिटी स्टाइल अलग से 18 यूरो लिया, पता नहीं डोंट नो क्या। छोटा सा रूम है 2 बेड वाला, विच इज़ फाइन। आई थिंक इधर है बाथरूम। छोटा सा मैंने बाथरूम लिया था मैंने। आई थिंक बाथरूम में एक छोटा सा ये है, इधर एक छोटा सा शावर जो होके ही ख़त्म होता है। हाँ, तो अभी थोड़ा रेस्ट करते हैं, 5-10 मिनट रेस्ट करके फिर बाहर निकलते हैं एक्सप्लोर करने द एम्स्टर्डम। तो एक्चुअली मैं चल के आ रहा हूँ। यहाँ पे एक ये मिला चर्च टाइप का, मीन कैथेड्रल ही है। तो यहाँ पे कुछ है, ये बाहर साइड का ऐसा पूरा अभी अभी तो नाइट है, आई मीन इवनिंग है तो कुछ खुला नहीं, बट मे भी नाइट के बाद पूरा माहौल ही चेंज हो जाएगा। तो अभी चलते हैं। और ये मेरा मीटिंग पॉइंट है कुछ, जो मैंने एक ये गेट योर गाइड से बुक किया था। तो यहाँ से कुछ दिख रहा है 6 मिनट 400 मीटर्स। तो उधर भी देखो, यहाँ पे एक ब्रिज, वहाँ पे एक ब्रिज, कौन फोटो लेगा आई डोंट नो, देखना पड़ेगा। ये कुछ है 5 मिनट का रास्ता, बट यहाँ पे ये सब है लाइन, कनाल। फिर मैं कल सोच रहा हूँ ये कनाल क्रूज ले लूँ इधर साइड से। कुछ दिखा रहा है 5 मीटर 350 मीटर्स। यहाँ पे मे भी बंद है बोल के, बट जितना हो सके तो मैं इतना वीडियो निकालूंगा, बाकी देखते हैं। फिलहाल तो मैं लोकेशन में जा रहा हूँ, लोकेशन तो बराबर दिखा रहा है। यहाँ पे देखो कनाल है, कनाल के साइड में पूरा अब देख सकते हो बहुत पुराने ज़माने का ही लाइक रूम वगैरह है। तो यहाँ पे बता रहे हैं अराउंड और 1 मिनट जाते हैं लोकेशन में। आई थिंक दिस इज़ मेन, आई मीन ये रहेगा। तो ऐसा कुछ है, अभी जाते हैं ऊपर, फिर दिखाता हूँ आपको।
Adam. We're going to go back 1,000 years, starting with the history of the place, okay? It was founded by fishermen mostly because we're standing in wetlands. There's no dry land here whatsoever. So the only people that found this hospitable were mariners, fishermen that dropped anchor here and took advantage of the herring just off the coast. The herring are the fish that you see the Dutch getting down their throats. It's quite disgusting. And apparently they don't taste very good. €15 pancakes either. That's a complete rip-off. Don't do it. Save your money.
I did.
Oh, you did? Did it taste like €14?
It's quite good.
Yeah, it was quite good. Okay, all right. See, the sea level was there, so the equivalent is to where we're standing now. The original city was built out of wood mostly. People either trafficked through the ships themselves, or they would stay on site here in a town that was surrounded by a wooden fence also. Behind you was the city itself. It was on a landing, on a pier, and when people came in on their boats, they would state their purpose here, register there, and then moor on either side of the harbor right here. And it's important to note that the harbor extends into the center of the city down this way. It's the Amsterdam River itself. It's still flowing underneath us right now. That's joined by the North Sea, which is about 25 miles or 35 kilometers that way, and the canal itself, which extends about the same distance to the North Sea. So you have a blend of salt water and then also fresh water from the Rhine River. It's all percolating and moving through the city, and it's actually eroding the city still today, like Venice. If you've ever been to Venice, you know that city is built up on pylons. Same with this city. It's built on 13 million pylons. 13 million trees are supporting the city above sea level. So the city burnt down twice. Once in the 1450s, where it swept through this part into the harbor itself behind you. One ship would catch fire, Liz set the other one on fire until the other side of the city also caught fire. And now today we have these brick buildings that are made out of clay that's actually harvested off the coast here. They're very lucky because the trees that support this place were brought in from Germany. We can't grow anything here. There's no authentic forests here. What woods we do have were planted by the royals. Remember, everything's underwater here. The airport is about 24 feet below sea level, or about 3 meters below sea level. We don't have wildlife. We have no resources here whatsoever. At the end of the Grand Canal, which goes down to the Imperial Palace, was the Amsterdam. The Amstel River was dammed right there, and that's how the city got its name. Same with Rotterdam. Wherever there was a dam, they added it to the name of the city. Buildings, typically where they warehoused their payloads, they would come in with their ships. The Chinese or the slaves would wheel everything in here, and they would attach a pulley system to those anchors. You see the hooks that are coming off the tops there, the hooks? Yeah, so you put a pulley there and you can pull your wares up the front of the building, then you push it in through the front of the building. These buildings had shutters on them, which is good because if you have perishables, the cold air here would keep it nice and cool. Attention to this building, just beyond the scaffolding. You see the one that's leaning forward over there?
Yeah,
that was
it's
built,
totally fully inclined.
Yeah, that's actually built deliberately like that. Deliberately. Why? Because that was probably the wealthiest merchant in the whole city. Because of the entrance of the city and the entrance of the harbor itself. And because you see the building here on the corner?
Yeah.
It's a very stocky building, it's very strong. That means because of the pitch and the strength of the building, they use probably hoisting things that are very, very heavy, like metals, probably nickel, silver, or gold. And that again had to clear the front of the building so it didn't smash into the glass that he had there, because he's probably that wealthy that he could afford glass. They're preserved by the National Historic Society, and they will not be torn down ever. Any new construction you see in the city is probably a result of the war, Second World War, where they had to rebuild on purpose. And there's an abundance of money here. And most of that money is coming from criminal elements. Criminal elements. In your country, it might be criminal to have prostitution. In your country, it might be criminal to do drugs, which I know it is. In your country, I'm sure there are certain things that are taboo also, right? I know prostitution is rampant, but drugs are, no. I mean, I know people are doing drugs too.
I mean, not like this, you know.
Yeah. So how do they get away with this? They decriminalize it. They decriminalize criminal activity. So they make it normal. Everything except murder is pretty much okay here. Okay? It's heroin, cocaine, murder, and sex trafficking. People are being trafficked through the city. That's a no-no. These are where they focus most of their efforts. But if you're a cocaine dealer, you're welcome here. If you're a hashish dealer from Morocco, please come in. If you're a marijuana dealer from Canada, you're welcome at the table, as long as you pay your taxes. As long as you declare through the honor system how much you're bringing through here, as long as you comply with the law. So now cocaine is not allowed in the city, but customs still taxes it as it moves through the city to other destinations. Because of that, because you decriminalize things, you don't have people rising up against each other. You don't have any hypocrisy associated with the government. Instead, you have flocks and flocks of curious people that want to know, how does this all work? The way it works.
जो भी वीडियो बनाऊंगा ना मैं, जो वीडियो मतलब टोटल लंबा होगा, बट फिर भी जितना होगा एडम जितना भी होगा मैं दिखाऊंगा. So I make like, you know, YouTube videos and stuff. That's fine. I hope it's okay.
No problem. In the mid 1400s, the lower part of the bar was actually built in the 1400s. That's all that existed originally, and this is the first stopover for mariners that survived maybe 1 or 2 years at sea. Now, of interest, when this guy's building, the wooden building, survived the fire, he became very brazen. He decided to keep building upward. And he used that using the very decking that they used to build ships. Right? That looks like the deck ship. The wood used on decks, and also the siding of ships. And he actually painted it with tar. Thank you. He painted it with tar to fireproof it. And that's how it's stood until this day. They also reinforced it with steel, but for the most part, it's not really a practical building up there, just the downstairs. Now, also of interest, you guys, you'll see animals here in the window. You see monkeys. It's called the monkey bar for a reason. Again, if you came in here and you didn't have enough coin, that shouldn't stop you from drinking a lot and throwing up somewhere, right? So you came in, spent your money. If you ran out, you talked to the owner of the place. He said, go back to your ship and bring back an animal that you've taken from some exotic location. That could be a bird, a reptile, or mostly monkeys. Men and monkeys had a relationship at sea. I don't know why, but there are a lot of men and monkeys. Briefly tell you about the Amsterdam flag. The black stripe going down the flag represents the Amstel River, which still flows under the city. It's the lifeblood of the city. The 3 X's are what the Dutch were guarding against, which was fire, flood, and pestilence or disease brought on by the plagues or by rodents in particular. As we go through here, we're entering the crime element of the city itself. We're going to start with crime, and then we'll talk about punishment after that. Okay?
पहले बता दूं, ये वीडियो थोड़ा लंबा होगा. I want to like cover each and everything. तो मैं इसको थोड़ा कम बताऊंगा, बाकी जो है आदम बताएंगे. तो ऐसा है कुछ इधर.
You see, it's called the Mancha. You can get a better look as you walk by it. The Mancha was opened by a lesbian in the early 1900s. She was able to get a lot of her friends to go there and hang out. As long as they didn't kiss, they could hang out upstairs. If they wanted to kiss, they had to go downstairs. There's actually a basement that's accessible from the outside, but also they have a trapdoor inside now that they built. The gay men in the area also wanted to get involved. Why the girls get to have all the fun? It's been 10 years since the Roaring 20s in the States. So gay men started partying over there, only they were relegated to the basement. They had to stay in the basement because they were too loud and crazy. The women are upstairs, the men are downstairs partying. They look around the room, they say, hey, we're the most opulent people in society. You know, we're the wealthiest and actually well recognized. What do we have to fear? And so what they did is they all got together and they proclaimed that the first gay bar. In 1930, they came out with There were 70 years before the first gay marriage took place in the city between two women.
तो भाई ये वाला है जो गे बार है और नीचे आई थिंक मतलब जो भी हिस्ट्री बताया अभी so ये वाला है गे बार ये वाला देख सकते हैं रिनोवेशन चल रहा है बट ये मतलब चालू रहता है स्टिल वर्किंग फिलहाल एक्चुअली हम लोग का मतलब में जो चाइना टाउन है मतलब यहाँ पे अभी बोलता है कि लाइक चाइनीज लोगों का मतलब ये है लाइक यू नो दे रन दिस प्लेस तो ये पूरा चाइनीज एरिया है तो यहाँ पे अभी कुछ है पेनिस म्यूजियम और समथिंग वो भी दिखाएंगे वो भी जो भी हिस्ट्री दिखाएंगे वो भी आपको दिखाता हूँ जो भी हिस्ट्री है तो ये वीडियो में ज़्यादा मैं कुछ नहीं बोलूँगा आई वांटेड टू कवर मतलब कुछ सिटीज मेरा एक्चुअली मैं ऐसा ट्रैवल करता हूँ लाइक आई वांट टू शो यू द हिस्ट्री मैं मेरे को खुद हिस्ट्री में थोड़ा मतलब ज़्यादा इंटरेस्ट है तो मैं हिस्ट्री थोड़ा मतलब आप लोगों को भी दिखाना चाहता हूँ तो ऐसा कुछ है अभी जा रहे हैं हम लोग स्ट्रीट के अंदर अभी तो जस्ट टूर स्टार्ट ही हुआ है आई थिंक आधा घंटा हुआ है अभी भी और 1.5 घंटा बचा है दिखाता हूँ जितना हो सके आप लोगों को
The second oldest building in the city, and before this used to be wetlands, and there was literally a drawbridge. It was very dramatic. The drawbridge would drop down, and you'd enter the city through here. There was a wall that I talked about earlier that lined the canal that joined this and then continued into the city. But eventually they did away with the walls because they could rely on the canals as a defense and stuff. You know it's true. You know it's true.
It's coming supersonica.
No, you know what I'm talking about.
Rusland, yes, because they crossed all the red lines.
That's right. All the red lines they crossed.
Supersonica, but not for us. Oh no, installation.
Gotta keep going here. So,
11 minutes, 2,000 kilometers.
ऐसा कुछ लाइक ऐसा कुछ ड्रगी मिल जाएंगे जैसे भाई आया था ड्रगी तो ऐसा कुछ है तो मतलब अभी हमारा टूर गाइड में घूम रहा है और ड्रगी लाइक प्योर ड्रगी तो ऐसा कुछ है बट एनीवेज लेट्स कंटिन्यू टू
let's talk about this building. During the Spanish Inquisition, they built gallows here. Gallows. What do they do with gallows? Anybody? They hang people. There's about a dozen people being hanged one at a time, or sometimes all at a time, to entertain the people here. Why? Because the Spanish and the Catholic Church had a really broad imagination, and they figured, well, if you don't follow us, or you dissent, or rise up against us, that's what's going to happen to you. So what they would do is they take the bodies of those people, they cut them open, and take them back to where we actually started our tour.
Okay.
They would splay them on pikes so the birds could peck at them. Wait, it gets better. And then they put a sign there saying, look, this is what's going to happen to you, because they didn't really have a police system in place here that could handle people that came from all over the world with different dialects, different languages. They didn't know how to deal with those people, so they said, look, you have to be on your own best behavior, otherwise we're going to cut off your ear, or your fingers, or your hand, and you're going to be marked as a thief. In this case, if you didn't believe in Christ, boom, you were hung, and you were splayed out there at the harbor. In a bar like this one over here, and a man would approach them, and that's the same way that they do it today. Women cannot solicit men. Men have to solicit women, or someone has to solicit the prostitute. Otherwise, you're breaking the law. So, as they sat there, a man would approach them to go out and have sex at a park or in an alleyway. Before long, women would sit out windows. Passerbys would walk by and they'd invite them inside. It's all very dangerous behavior. You can be strangled to death in your own house. So women did. They came together and they protected themselves in these brothels. They were still managed by men. Dangerous men. Today, women you're going to see are not in danger. They're entrepreneurs, and they're solid as a rock. They're very strong. They come from the Eastern Bloc. In order to be a prostitute, you have to be 21 years of age or older, and it's best that you align yourself with the prostitute guild here. There are women working in the shadows. These are the women that advertise themselves online and so on. They're being trafficked as escorts typically. Those women want to remain anonymous. It's important for them that they're not recognized by anyone. But therein lies the danger. You might have more opportunity there, but you could be abused that way. The women from Romania, Czechoslovakia, or Poland that are here, even Ukraine, are entrepreneurs. They're here because they had to flee something, whether it was poverty or maybe persecution, be it religious or political. They just want a better life for their family because there's war or famine where they're coming from. So they come here, they align themselves with the Prostitutes Guild, and then they're given them a manual basically on how to behave here and where to perform. So the woman who runs the place is a former prostitute. She'll tell you where you can rent, Typically, it's a booth with a red light around it. The red lights were incorporated a long time ago to hide rashes. When women had syphilis or gonorrhea, those red candle lights would hide those rashes somewhat. But today it identifies the gender, the sex. So that's a woman standing behind red lights. If it's somebody behind a blue light or a purple light, it's likely a man. But sometimes there's a woman, man hiding behind a red light. So you never know sometimes before it's too late. Right? You can get your money back. It's all right. You can change your mind. Some people are like, oh, well, might as well try it. I'm here. So anyway, these women last about 2 years on average here. Like I said, they're very stoked. They're very beautiful. They have to be. This is the capital of prostitution in all of Europe. So they're competing against extremely beautiful women. They're going to burn out because, again, it's about 200 euros for the space that they're renting. When they do that, they get a place to display themselves, a bed in the back, a shower, lube, towels, everything they need, condoms, everything they need to perform their job. The negotiation is like this. They display themselves, somebody knocks, they open the window or the door, they discuss what they want to do, right? What do you want to do? How long? How much money are you willing to spend? It's typically 100 to fornicate and 50 for oral sex.
एक्चुअली अभी हम लोग दूसरे रेड लाइट डिस्ट्रिक्ट में हमारे फोटो वीडियो अलाउड नहीं है, पर जितना हो सका दिखाऊंगा अगर हुआ तो, अदरवाइज नहीं.
The old church. This is the oldest building in the entire city. It was built on a cemetery of 10,000 bodies. So when the Calvinists first came here, they weren't very popular. Imagine you're building your church on top of a cemetery, and then you're taking the headstones, all 2,500 of those headstones, and you're using it to pave the floor of your church. They proclaimed that the women here were going to be safe, like I said, safeguarded from now on. It took until 2008 to recognize women and the power that they held in the city. Yeah, that's progress, from the mill. The red car is, that's the origins of the red light district. We're going to go ahead and step in over there, all right? Let's go back about 500.
This is
So, 7:30, you know what that means? We're 3/4 the way through the tour, nearly 7/8. Isn't that amazing, you guys? This is where people used to fornicate, huh? The Johns would block off the alleyways. Women would have sex along here. As I mentioned about that girl in her petticoat earlier, they're very soiled here. They were dying here. You can see the windows here and the doors are smaller in stature. That's because people were smaller in stature 500 years ago. These buildings have been preserved actually for a long time. I think they want people to remember the origins of the red light district. It's really important to note that women were brutalized here and murdered here in large numbers. Hundreds of thousands of women died over centuries here doing their job, just doing their job, trying to stay alive. I go back to the widows here that lost their loved ones. 2 out of 3 didn't come back. Those women, they were forced into prostitution, and maybe their sisters or their mothers also had to join them. If you were pimped, if you were managed by a man and you got sick, you were excommunicated. If you didn't perform, you weren't fed or paid necessarily. So sometimes it was important to keep it in the family. But that means you'd watch your family be brutalized, maybe die, or maybe contract a disease that they couldn't cure, and their lives would be snuffed very, very quickly. By the time they're 24 on average, people were dying here. Young girls were pushed into prostitution also. And this is where they died, right here. And because of this tour, because of kind of the circus atmosphere, we tend to forget the struggle that women went through, especially through the ages. We men, we brutalized women. So here we are, just taking a moment to remember them, please. Makes me feel a little bit better, and then we can move on to the next one. It goes up and down these alleyways.
ये वाला जो प्लेस है ना, जितना भी मतलब पहले स्टार्टिंग में इनिशियली जब प्रोस्टिट्यूशन चालू किया था, यहाँ पे सब मतलब मैन तो कोई भी इधर यहाँ पे मतलब मर्डर करते थे उन लोगों का। ये टोटल एरिया में है, पीछे देखते हो मैं दिखाया भी वो जो हमारा एडम बता भी रहा था, ये टोटल एरिया में है। मतलब यहाँ पे इतने लोग मतलब जो प्रोस्टिट्यूशन को फोर्स करते थे प्रोस्टिट्यूशन करने के लिए, तो सही बात वो भी बोल रहा था। अभी मतलब ये सब भूल जाते हैं, बट दिस इज द हार्श रियलिटी। तो ये है कुछ स्ट्रीट यही एरिया में टोटल, ये आप पूरा इसलिए इन्होंने मतलब इसको कुछ भी नहीं कर प्रिजर्व करके रखा है। फुल एरिया है जो भी है पूरा प्रिजर्व करके रखा है। तो यहाँ पे उन्होंने तो जैसा था वैसे यहाँ पे ना कोई शॉप है ना कुछ है, बट जैसे ही यहीं से मतलब प्रोस्टिट्यूशन मतलब एम्स्टर्डम का प्रोस्टिट्यूशन यहीं से चालू हुआ था, तो उन्होंने इसी को मतलब पूरा प्रिजर्व करके रखा है जस्ट फॉर मेमोरी। और पीपल को पता होना चाहिए कि भाई हाँ मतलब क्या क्या मतलब हाउ मैन आर ब्रूटल, ऐसा कुछ था।
Speechless. There's nothing to say. It's a condom shop. You can get custom condoms here. There's nothing else to say. It's a condom shop. That's a female condom on the left there. I don't know what else to say. It's a condom shop. So don't be hard on me. Alright, let's get this. The after effects of coming out of the red light district, I should have told you this earlier, is that you have to see all those penises and things, that you tend to see a lot of phalluses everywhere. For example, that fountain might look like a giant penis all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Whereas normally it doesn't. Or maybe that light post behind you might look like a giant phallus. Alright, don't worry, this will wear off, okay? It's not permanent. Okay? Alright, let me tell you where we're standing right now. We're standing on the Amstel River. It was covered over, but it still goes this direction into the city. And the Amstel Dam used to be just there out of sight. It doesn't exist anymore because the waterways have been managed. The Standing Town is the only stock exchange of its era. It was built in 1602, and it was built because there was so much currency coming into the city, more money than Amazon, the Fortune 5 combined. The biggest companies, Apple and so on, more wealth was being transferred through the city. So.
भाई अभी तो मतलब घूम लिया, वो एक पीप शो टाइप का था वो भी देखा, बट मेरे को उतना तो लाइक खास नहीं लगा। बट फिर भी अगर आप चाहो तो आ सकते हो, आकर देख सकते हो। बट जो नाइट लाइफ है, नाइट लाइफ है मतलब जितना रात होता है उतना बढ़ता ही जा रहा है, समथिंग लाइक दैट। तो अभी मैं थोड़ा मेरे होटल के स्ट्रीट में आ गया हूँ। यहाँ से कुछ 200-250 मीटर का है मेरा होटल। तो मैं चल के जा रहा हूँ, थोड़ा थोड़ा बारिश भी हो रहा है। तो कल मेरे को जाना है 1-2 जगह, तो दिखाता हूँ। और आज का वीडियो थोड़ा डिफरेंट है क्योंकि मेरे को कवर करना था कि भाई नाइट लाइफ क्यों है, क्या नहीं है उसके बारे में। बट अभी ये सब नाइट का पूरा स्ट्रीट है, ये थोड़ा मतलब सुनसान स्ट्रीट है, मतलब बारिश होने लगी है उसके लिए शायद बंद हो गया है। बट एनीवेज, आई होप यू लाइक इट द वीडियो। कल मिलते हैं। मेरा एक बकेट लिस्ट थिंग, एम्स्टर्डम तो ऑलवेज बकेट लिस्ट ही था, बट और एक फुटबॉल स्टेडियम देखना है। तब तक के लिए पीस।